and welcome to the C-Suite Edge. I'm your host, John Light. I'm also the CEO and founder of Sabretooth Recruiting, and I've got something really cool today because I love to talk with people who are playing around and working with and bringing AI-driven products to market. So, Blair Gatchel, thanks so much for joining us today. I know you're with Breva AI, so Breva.ai is a website. Welcome, man. I'm happy to have you.
Thank you, John. I'm thrilled to be here. Really looking forward to this.
Well, you know what kind of got my attention is, I'm in the, it's funny, growing up, I straddled the part of Texas that is kind of deep south and kind of west. Kind of the state kind of has this overlap, and you're in the deep south, so I feel like it's got a couple of southern boys coming in here, and really what we ought to be talking about is Dr. Pepper and peanuts. But
throw some grits in there, and barbecue will be all right.
Oh, lots of barbecue. Beef,
Yeah.
pork, chicken, sausage, whatever. That's, yeah.
Yes,
Deal me in, and I hate to say this because I'm in Texas and people will think maybe it's a little traitorous. And you might think it's traitorous too, being in Georgia, but it's like you give me a good mustard-based vinegar barbecue sauce from the Carolinas, man, and I'm drinking that stuff. Forget putting it on anything.
You and my brother. My brother lives. The rest of my family lives in New Bern, North Carolina, towards.
Oh yeah,
and
sign me up.
Sign me up. The rest of it ketchup.
Well, look. I mean, while we're getting started here, it is funny we're talking about this stuff that goes back centuries, and yet we're also talking about AI, but. Give us a little 90-second rundown, Blair, on what brought you to Breva.ai and that career path, and let's get a little bit of clarity in this critical path you're on.
So I make a lot of bad jokes, and my joke about my career is that I've been in fintech since before fintech was fintech. So
no comment.
Yeah, right. So only one dad joke left on the, and I got it.
Yeah, we're hitting our budget, man. We're hitting our budget.
Sorry. So I've been in the industry a while, right? I've spent a good bit of my career on balance sheet management, financial risk management, all really as interesting as yield curve rotation could be. But something that's really motivated me the last several years is not just being profitable, not just being a good business, but having a good impact as well. And I think at least it gets attributed to Benjamin Franklin, this concept of doing well by doing good. And sometimes people talk about legacy and impact and stuff like that, and that maybe the older I get, the more that resonates with me. And that really is what has brought me to Breva.
Well, like I say, I like that impact. I've been a recruiter. I've been in the headhunting space for over 20 years. And one of the big points I make with candidates, and I counsel people on this too, even if I'm not representing them, if they ask me, hey, how do you prepare for an interview? I have a 4-point interview framework I take them through. It's the same one I share with candidates going to paying clients. And one of the big things in there, I think one of the flaws in the job market, Blair, you touched on it just a little bit, is that when you look at jobs, they're all just responsibilities, qualifications, they're table stakes.
Right.
What's really important is what's your value impact on a business, on a community, on your family, and there's something we can't quantify. We can't quantify the time you spend with your kids.
Sorry about that.
We'll edit that. In fact, that's at 3:59.
I am not.
But you can't quantify that. One of my boys comes up and says, hey, can we go throw the ball outside? Or can we walk down to the pond and go fishing?
Yeah.
Unless I've got something that's just right exploding in front of me, man, I'm going to walk out with them, no matter how I feel.
Right.
But I guess my question to you is when you look across this and you see, impact-wise, the impact you want to have, let's define that with what you're doing at Breva. I mean, what's the biggest problem you guys are trying to solve?
So the biggest problem is access to capital for small businesses, for entrepreneurs. Mm-hmm. And the vast majority of small business loan applications are turned down. And even SBA loans, which are kind of often seen as the pinnacle of small business financing, 46% of them are turned down flat. Another upper 20% are underfunded. But statistics for non-SBA loans are like 80% denied.
46% of SBA loans are denied. 46%. I did not know that. Wow.
Just flat. Nope. And people go to a lot of time and effort to do the application and everything else, seeking the funding that they need. So what we do, we see ourselves, Breva, we see ourselves as a bridge between small businesses and capital. But what's different about us is we use our technology to help the business owner be a better manager a better financial manager, to help them get funding ready so they don't get turned down. I like to say I want to eliminate the big red X of denial out there. I think that's maybe a little bit like world peace and curing cancer. But lofty goal, right? Good goal to shoot for, but probably won't get there all the way. But and help them find appropriate capital. So like with our lending partners, we know their credit box and we know our AI can assess the health of the business. We'll only match them where there's a match, right? It's not my money, so I can't guarantee that it gets approved, but we know the credit box, so it's highly, highly likely. And I tell my lending partners, as it turns out, better run businesses repay their loans at a higher rate.
Imagine that.
It seems important in the industry, right? So we help the business be better run, so they repay their loan, grow, need a bigger loan, which they're also likely to repay.
Interesting. Let me ask you this: from your lenders that you have in the background, are they doing asset-based lending, or are they doing it just strictly on credit? I mean, what's the driver there?
Yes to all the above. Now, I would say, and you hear this in the industry a lot, and rightfully so, people are more than their credit scores.
Right.
And so cash flows is a component of it. Our platform is built on top of an AI cash flow underwriting system. We don't underwrite loans, but we want to train entrepreneurs to look at their business the way a capital provider would. And so similarly, our lending partners can see the cash flows of their borrowers, but it's not point in time. Traditional credit risk metrics are lagging indicators. So we can see potential problems in the future, so that resources can be applied to avoid the problem in the first place. Great example.
So, I was going to ask for an example on that, because I think that's huge. Because a lot of people don't understand in the marketplace. There's so much hype, so much hyperbole about AI and applying AI, and there's a lot of horror stories too.
Right.
And there's a lot of just misdirection, whether it's intentional or unintentional. So, you said AI cash flow underwriting system is the foundation. I hear that, and I'm like, time out. Let's talk about that for a second. So how are you guys, excuse me, we're in the South, how are y'all applying AI in a business sense that is helping a small business or medium business owner be have a more financial level of mindset and astuteness?
Well, so there's a training component to it for sure. And first off, let me say just about AI, it's about the data. And if it's your data, it should benefit you, right? And it shouldn't be used to sell things to you. It should be used to benefit you.
You mean advertising to you and what you're looking at a minute ago is not your highest and best use of data?
No. Hey, I think you're likely to buy this. There's a fundamental difference on propensity to buy and what you actually need, right? What's helpful. And so we want to focus on what's actually helpful. So there's a component of education. I personally don't like the term literacy, like financial literacy, just because it connotates illiterate. But so I'm going to call it training and education. Debt service coverage ratio, DSCR, is a big driver on a business's ability to get capital or not. But
Right.
we were talking about barbecue in our platform. My fictional company is Blair's Barbecue Business because I like barbecue and alliteration, right?
There's nothing wrong with that.
Nothing, right? Nothing wrong with that. And they wouldn't let me do Blair's Bodacious Barbecue Business because that was just too much. But
They probably struggled to spell bodacious, let's be honest.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, there is that. Yeah, and I couldn't. I'll just be honest with you. I couldn't spell it. But you know, if you're opening a great barbecue restaurant, what's the chances you know what DSCR is? That service coverage.
Right.
And you know, no fault there, right? No judgment. So we'll use AI to train that business owner, but we train them on what they need to know right now at the point of friction. So it's not just kind of some generic class. It's hey, I need to raise $200,000.
It has relevancy, immediate
Yeah.
relevancy.
Well,
Yeah.
if you need a $200,000 loan or a $500,000 loan or whatever it is, that's meaningful. So here's what it is. Here's what your ratio is, and here's the strategy you need to do to improve it. And let's start working on that. Is that making sense?
No, absolutely. And I'm sure you've got a clever hook-setting name for your AI.
So Bree, we have named our AI, and her name is Bree. And
Her name is Bree. So
Yeah.
not Brie like the cheese, which is not a Southern thing, but
No.
Bree.
Just one E.
So I'm curious to know, and I mean this sincerely, and I understand there could be confidentiality issues, and I don't want to cross any lines. I'm curious to know, how is it being received once you get in and you work with someone to implement?
You know, it's really interesting. Very well. And I've seen studies even before where people are more likely to have a sensitive conversation with an AI than they are with an actual human.
Really?
Yeah, and in particular in
Man.
personal finance. This is business finance. But there is a little bit of a cool factor to it sometimes, and people are a little surprised when they first talk to Bree. I was talking to a woman that owns a mobile swim school, and she needs financing to get a physical location, right? But she's struggling to get financing because her business is only seasonal, but she needs financing to make her business year round. So it's this whole loop, right?
Right.
And so we said, well, do you want to ask Bree a question? She said, well, tell me, Bree, how can I run a swim school? What are some ideas for me to increase my revenue? And so Bree laid out 3 or 4 different ideas. The first one was a stroke clinic. And, if you're teaching kids to swim, teach them to swim faster, right? So they can be on the swim team or, however far they want to go on the swim team. But we've trained our Bree extensively on finance and accounting.
Yeah.
The words swim school have never come out of our mouth, or stroke clinic. And it was fascinating to see what she had come up with. But
no, that's actually really cool. That's actually really cool because, when you take a small business owner or you take a corporate executive, it doesn't really matter. Sometimes we don't know what we don't know. And look, I've got an accounting degree. I spent 5 or 6 years at the beginning of my career practicing accountant. Had a controller role at one point with a $50-60 million P&L back in the 90s when that actually meant something. It seems like it doesn't mean a whole lot these days sometimes. But I'm not a practicing accountant. I may know some of the right questions to ask. And to your point about, talking about financial literacy, it's more about financial fluency. I'm fluent in English. I can go into a Tex-Mex restaurant and order in Spanish.
Yeah.
But don't ask me to have a conversation because I'm not fluent. And I think a lot of business owners are that way. Is they have something they're really good at. Maybe it's barbecue. Maybe it's running the kitchen. Maybe it's front of house, whatever it is. But they know the words, but they don't do the sentence structure correctly. They're not fluent on the financial side or fluent on this other piece and so on and so forth. And to be able to pull a helper alongside who can help address issues and nothing else. I'm a big believer. I don't think AI should be making decisions for us. I think AI should bring us to the point of having all the information we need in a nice, convenient, organized way that we can now pull the trigger, make decisions.
Yep.
Because people do business with people, ultimately. And it sounds like a really fascinating tool, lever that you're presenting to folks. I'm wondering, you'll have to keep me apprised, because the day that Bree starts going to the banks and negotiating everything on your behalf and bringing you your own self-made kind of pre-approved stuff like you get in the mail, but for real, that'll be pretty fascinating. I don't know if that's on the agenda in future state, but that would be really cool.
So that's kind of, now it's there's a marketplace, and there's lots of loan marketplaces out there, and it's common. You ask a couple of questions, and then they'll present options for you, and you can pick which one you apply for. So with Bree, it's not, let's narrow that down. Here's the best choice, and here's why. Or here's the best two choices, and here's why. And of course, you match the credit box. So it's, lenders talk about leads. That's not really a lead. That's almost for sure it's going to get funded, right? It's going to get approved. But the next phase of that is, do business owners that choose to expose their data to lenders, can we flip that marketplace around? And this is just me thinking about what's in the future here. Can we flip that around and start asking lenders to make offers?
That's an interesting proposition, where you create a marketplace where instead of the business owners feeling like the commodity, the bankers become more the commodity.
Puts the power
that
in
would
the business.
Okay, that's intriguing. Might have to do a second show on this. But Blair, our time is wrapping up. Now my brain is going a different direction. Man, if someone wants to get in touch with you and learn more, what's the best way for them to find you?
So our website, www.breva.ai. Blair at breva.ai is my email address. And I think I am the only, but feel free to prove me wrong, Blair Gatchel out there in the LinkedIn O-sphere. So I'm not that hard to find out there.
Well, if it's any consolation, I once looked for John Light on LinkedIn. I found a dentist in Florida. I found a veterinarian somewhere else. And I found a B-list actor out of the UK who married Neve Campbell. And then they promptly divorced a few years later. And he's really, he's got great hair, which, I mean, we can't be related, but he has my name, and I want it back. Blair, thanks so much for joining me today, man. I appreciate the insight, too, on Breva.ai, and, man, I wish you the best with it. I want to stay in touch and find out where this goes.
Let's do it.